Have you ever sensed that overthinking is a burden, that the more you grasp about life, the more difficult it becomes to truly live? Perhaps you've observed that some conversations feel hollow, while those around you seem content with trivial distractions, leaving you feeling increasingly alienated. The harsh reality is that intelligence comes with a cost, a toll that remains unspoken. Arthur Schopenhauer, one of history's most somber and unyielding philosophers, argued that intelligence is not a blessing but a burden. He suggested that those who perceive reality with greater clarity do not find life easier. Instead, they endure more suffering. They often feel misunderstood, isolated, and even shunned by society. After all, the truth is rarely welcomed. People prefer to cling to their comforting illusions, drifting through life without questioning anything. Those who dare to shatter this illusion become seen as a threat. Perhaps you have experienced this firsthand. You attempt to share a deeper thought, a more intricate idea, only to be met with vacant stares or awkward laughter. You come to realize that the world lacks patience for profound contemplation. People crave simple answers, easy entertainment, distractions that allow them to escape their own reality. The issue lies not with you. Rather, it is that most individuals shy away from the truth because it is too unsettling to confront. Here is the profound insight that Schopenhauer uncovered: the more intelligent you are, the more challenging it becomes to find your place in the world. A sharp intellect can feel like a burden because it shatters illusions. When you come to understand that everything around you, society, relationships, and human aspirations, is rooted in deception and self-deception, you face a dilemma: either ignore the truth or embrace the solitude that comes with deep contemplation. If you've ever sensed that your intelligence sets you apart from others, or that your worldview prompts you to question things that seem unnoticed by those around you, then this video is meant for you. Today, we will delve into Schopenhauer's concealed truth, a revelation that could transform your perception of your own intellect, and perhaps afterward, you may even wish to relinquish your intelligence. Are you ready? Let's begin. If you've ever felt that your intelligence distances you from others, it's not just a figment of your imagination. It's a reality. Schopenhauer not only recognized this, but also philosophically explained why it occurs. He argued that heightened intelligence does not foster closeness among people. Rather, it creates a chasm. Recall the times you attempted to convey a deeper idea to someone, only to find that they simply couldn't grasp it. Whether discussing a book, a philosophical idea, or a nuanced observation about life, instead of sparking interest, you were met with boredom, impatience, or even disdain. This occurs because many individuals prefer not to engage in deep thinking. They seek straightforward answers, uncomplicated narratives, and a reality that does not challenge their beliefs. Schopenhauer posited that higher intelligence leads to isolation as society functions on a more superficial plane. He likened the human mind to a boat. The majority of people navigate close to the shore in shallow, predictable waters, while the more intelligent are cast into the open ocean, a vast, deep, and solitary expanse. While others frolic near the beach without a care, those with deeper insight must face the daunting enormity of reality. This helps explain why highly intelligent individuals often feel out of place. They recognize the flaws in society, the inconsistencies in human behavior, and the futility of certain pursuits. When they attempt to raise awareness among others, they find that few are willing to listen. Even worse, those who challenge the collective ignorance are often perceived as arrogant, pessimistic, or even threatening. This sense of isolation is not merely social, it is also emotional. Schopenhauer argued that, with intelligence comes heightened sensitivity. More intelligent individuals not only comprehend more, they also experience emotions more. They experience injustices with a haunting intensity, their hearts heavy with the weight of hypocrisy, and they find it nearly impossible to settle for the banality of mediocrity. This creates a merciless cycle. The more astute one is, the more acutely they feel the world's anguish, and the less they can share that burden with others. But if intelligence truly chains one to solitude, what then awaits the great thinkers? Are they all destined for a life steeped in loneliness and sorrow? Or is there something far more sinister lurking in the shadows? Schopenhauer posited that the answer lies not merely in isolation, but in suffering itself, a theme we will delve into next. If this resonates with you, click the subscribe button and join our dark journey. Thank you for your support. If isolation feels like a cruel fate, Schopenhauer warns of an even grimmer reality: the relentless torment that accompanies heightened intelligence. He believed that a man's suffering is intricately tied to his ability to perceive. The deeper one gazes into the abyss of existence, the more reasons they uncover to feel frustration, disappointment, and dread. In contrast, ignorance offers a deceptive shield, allowing individuals to drift through life in a state of existential numbness. But why does intelligence breed such suffering? The answer is stark: reality is merciless. Most people squander their lives chasing fleeting pleasures, distractions, and hollow meanings. Money, status, empty relationships, and rigid dogmas. For Schopenhauer, all of this is but a fragile illusion. The wise, those who pierce through the veil of reality, come to understand how arbitrary and transient these desires truly are. He recognizes that the world is governed by chaos, randomness, and human irrationality. This realization strips away the ability to deceive oneself into believing in a just order or a higher purpose that guides existence. The second source of suffering for the wise is their frustration with mediocrity. The German philosopher contended that most people function at a lower intellectual level, not due to an inability to think, but because they choose not to think. They opt for the easier route, accept prepackaged answers, and shy away from any introspection that might compel them to question their lives. The issue is that the intelligent individual cannot escape this need for questioning. He sees beyond superficial appearances and recognizes the hypocrisy and contradictions present in the world. When he attempts to share this insight, he often faces resistance, disdain, or hostility. History is replete with examples of thinkers who were rejected, persecuted, and mocked simply for perceiving beyond the obvious. Socrates was condemned to death for challenging the beliefs of ancient Athens. Nietzsche was labeled a madman for revealing the fragility of traditional morality. Giordano Bruno was executed by fire for claiming that the universe was infinite. These individuals did not suffer because they were mistaken, but because they were right too early. They recognized a truth that society was not prepared to accept. This brings us to the third and most painful reason for their suffering. These men did not endure their torment because they were mistaken, but rather because they grasped the truth too early, a truth that society was not yet prepared to confront. This brings us to the third and most merciless reason for the agony of the wise: existential solitude. A man of profound intellect may have companions, a family, and even be surrounded by throngs, yet within the depths of his being, he will always feel an insurmountable isolation. Intelligence erects an invisible wall, separating him from the rest of humanity. He may attempt to articulate his despair, his contemplations, his darkest uncertainties, but he will seldom find complete understanding. This abyss between profound insight and the shallow waters of collective thought is one of the most harrowing tortures for a brilliant mind. In light of this, Schopenhauer leads us to an even more unsettling inquiry: if deep contemplation breeds suffering, is true happiness found in ignorance? Is the only path to a life free from anguish to forsake critical thought and succumb to the numbing distractions of mundane existence? This is precisely what we will delve into next. If intelligence begets isolation and torment, then surely the converse must hold true, right? Those of lesser intellect appear more content with their lives. They fret less over existential dilemmas, do not squander time pondering the futility of existence, and derive joy from trivial pursuits, fleeting entertainment, inconsequential chatter, and monotonous routines. In the end, is ignorance truly a blessing? Schopenhauer certainly believes so. For him, happiness and intelligence exist in a twisted dance of despair. The deeper one delves into the dark truths of reality. The more elusive joy becomes, slipping through fingers like shadows at dusk. In stark contrast, those who drift through life unchallenged are blissfully ignorant, floating along the currents of existence, blissfully unburdened by the weight of profound thought. While the wise man grapples with the haunting truth of life's fleeting nature, the ordinary soul finds solace in fleeting distractions, blissfully unaware of the abyss that yawns beneath their feet. As the philosopher contemplates the hollow core of society, the masses bury themselves in trivial pursuits and mundane worries, oblivious to the creeping darkness that surrounds them. This is because the human mind was not crafted to seek the unsettling truth. It was forged for survival amidst the chaos. The average person is driven by what Schopenhauer termed the will to live, a blind, relentless force that compels us to chase pleasure and flee from pain. To question this instinct too deeply invites suffering, as it shatters the comforting illusions that allow life to seem bearable. Society, with its grand illusions of success, love, and status, serves as a vast, collective stage, distracting the masses from the encroaching void. The intelligent man, however, sees through this facade, recognizing that beneath it all lies a transient and often hollow existence. In this grim awareness, he becomes detached from the naive joys that fuel others, wandering through life like a ghost among the living. This unsettling truth is evident in every corner of existence. In social circles, the most adored are rarely the brightest, but rather the most charismatic, those who master the art of playing the game without ever questioning its sinister rule. In the shadows of the professional realm, it is often those who thrive not through deep contemplation, but through a chilling adaptability to the system, who follow commands with eerie compliance, and who evade the paralysis of overthinking. In matters of the heart, those who indulge in passionate and blissful romances are frequently not the ones dissecting every nuance, but rather those who plunge headfirst into the seductive illusion of the moment, blissfully unaware of the lurking darkness. This brings forth a haunting dilemma. Must one forsake intelligence to grasp happiness? Is the only escape from anguish to embrace a shallow perception of reality? For Schopenhauer, this was the profound tragedy of human existence. The overthinkers suffer, while the oblivious dwell in a deceptive paradise. Thus, he posited that the wise should not seek joy in the same places as the masses. If the common pleasures of life stem from ignorance, what remains for those who pierce through the veil of appearances? Is there a path to purpose without succumbing to the collective charade? Schopenhauer's unsettling answer unveils an even darker aspect of intelligence: the merciless treatment of those who refuse to conform. The plight is not merely the isolation of the thinker, but the brutal response of a world that shuns their existence, a theme that looms ominously in the shadows of our next exploration. If happiness is found in ignorance, then the intelligent individual is not merely an outsider in society. He becomes a threat, and like any threat, he must be subdued. Throughout history, humanity has exhibited a troubling pattern. Whenever someone perceives truths that lie beyond the surface and attempts to unveil uncomfortable realities, that person is often silenced, mocked, or even destroyed. Schopenhauer recognized this harsh reality of society. To him, collective mediocrity experiences profound unease in the presence of a mind that dares to think differently. This discomfort arises because such a thinker disrupts the comforting illusions in which most prefer to dwell. While the majority occupy themselves with trivial matters, the philosopher is the one who highlights the absurdity of existence, the hypocrisy of institutions, and the futility of human aspirations. Faced with these unsettling truths, the simplest response for many is to attack those who bring them to light. History is replete with instances of this. Socrates was condemned to death for corrupting the youth, which really meant teaching them to think independently. Galileo faced persecution for declaring that the earth revolved around the sun, a truth that threatened the comforting beliefs of the time. Nietzsche was ridiculed for revealing the fragility of moral values, ultimately leading to his isolation and madness. Schopenhauer himself spent much of his life in obscurity, his philosophy dismissed as too bleak for a society unwilling to confront its own shadows. The weight of such truths can be a heavy burden, and the fate of those who dare to reveal them often serves as a somber reminder of the cost of enlightenment. Do not be deceived into thinking that this unsettling phenomenon is confined to the realms of great philosophers and scientists. It permeates every stratum of existence. Have you observed how social circles swiftly cast out those who dare to stand apart? In the workplace, the employee who questions the unjust rules is soon branded a nuisance. In the classroom, the student who seeks deeper truths is labeled as arrogant or peculiar. In social settings, those who crave profound discussions over shallow banter often find themselves adrift, haunted by a sense of alienation. The world craves compliance, not contemplation. Herein lies a chilling irony. Society shuns the thinker, while simultaneously relying on his insights. Every monumental innovation, every revolutionary thought, every shift that has truly altered the course of humanity has emerged from those who were once cast aside for their brilliance. Yet, society only acknowledges genius posthumously when the threat of their ideas has faded into the shadows. So, if the intelligent are rejected, hunted, and condemned to a life of solitude, what recourse do they have? How can one who perceives the world through a clearer lens endure in a realm that shuns clarity? Schopenhauer posited that there exists but one escape, a divergent path for those who refuse to dwell in ignorance. This survival strategy is the very essence of our next discussion. If intelligence leads to isolation, suffering, and rejection, the haunting question remains, is there a way out? How can an individual who perceives the deeper truths beyond societal illusions find tranquility in a world that appears to have no room for them? Schopenhauer posited that there is only one way to cease searching for happiness in the same places as others do. Many people derive meaning from distractions, careers, relationships, and social standing. They become ensnared in the belief that happiness is found in the acknowledgement of others, in being part of a group, and in fulfilling material desires. However, for the discerning individual, all of this feels hollow. They understand that success often hinges not on merit, but on the capacity to adhere to societal norms. They recognize that relationships can be built on superficial projections and self-interests, and that the relentless chase for pleasure is simply a way to avoid confronting existential voids. So, what is the alternative? Schopenhauer asserted that the only way to cope with one's own intelligence is to fundamentally alter one's way of life. He believed that the wise individual should relinquish the need for external validation and seek fulfillment in realms where society's mediocrity cannot intrude. This entails three key aspects. 1. Embrace solitude as a form of freedom. Many fear being alone because, without distractions, they must face their true selves. Yet, Schopenhauer viewed solitude as a privilege. He contended that a truly intelligent person is never lonely, as their own mind offers a vast universe to explore, without the constant need for companionship. He suggested that, rather than being troubled by the absence of shallow connections, a wise individual should dedicate their time to introspection, learning, and understanding oneself. They should find solace in art and philosophy. For Schopenhauer, the only truly genuine human experiences are those devoid of practical utility, like art and philosophical reflection. He held that music, in particular, represented the highest form of art, as it enabled people to rise above the harshness of reality and touch something profound. Instead of becoming entangled in worldly distractions, the wise person should immerse themselves in pursuits that broaden their mind without the need for societal validation. Moreover, he urged the rejection of the illusion of happiness and the acceptance of tranquility. According to Schopenhauer, the gravest error of the intelligent individual is to seek happiness in the same ways as the masses. Intelligence brings the painful realization that true happiness is but a mirage. And the sooner one comes to terms with this, the more liberated they will feel. Thus, the aim is not to chase after false happiness, but to attain a state of peace. This involves curbing desires, steering clear of the world's trivialities, and finding joy in mere existence without depending on external validation. While this philosophy may seem harsh, even cruel, it carries a certain liberating quality, for when you cease to search for what the world can never provide, you free yourself from frustration with others, institutions, and the system itself. You come to terms with reality as it stands, learning to navigate its shadows without being ensnared by them. Yet, if the path of the thinker leads away from the mundane world, what awaits those who embark on this dark journey? What fate befalls those who cast aside society's comforting illusions to embrace only the stark truth? Schopenhauer had a chilling answer to this, and it is this grim revelation that we will explore in our final discussion. Thus, we arrive at the ultimate question: what is the true fate of the one who perceives beyond the veil, if he cannot find his place within society, if conventional joy slips through his fingers, if his intellect is both a blessing and a curse? What awaits one who defiantly rejects the comforting lies? Schopenhauer held no romantic notions about this fate. He understood that profound intelligence, when pushed to its limits, isolates the individual in a realm of solitude and misunderstanding. The thinker will find no solace in the trivial distractions of ordinary existence and will remain an outsider to those who drift through life in a daze. But does this mean he is forever condemned to anguish? Not necessarily. The true revelation lies not in fleeing this burden, but in learning to bear it with a grim grace. The man who comprehends the essence of existence and accepts reality stripped of the comforting illusions that most cling to, attains a kind of freedom that few will ever experience. He does not look for meaning beyond himself, is indifferent to others' approval, and refuses to be shackled by the relentless craving for more. He recognizes that the world has always been chaotic, unfair, and indifferent, and by embracing this reality, he shields himself from the disappointments that can overwhelm others. Schopenhauer argued that a wise individual should relinquish any hope of changing society or being understood by it. Instead, He should focus on nurturing his own intellect, valuing art, philosophy, and contemplation. He ought to be an observer of the world rather than a captive of it. However, this conclusion prompts an unsettling question: is it worthwhile to be intelligent if ignorance leads to happiness while wisdom results in solitude? Is the quest for knowledge a sensible decision, or should we opt to remain in blissful ignorance like everyone else? I would like to hear your thoughts. Do you believe that intelligence inevitably leads to suffering, or can one be intelligent and still find joy? Please share your perspective. And before you leave, don't stop here. The next video is crucial for continuing this reflective journey. There's something significant in it that you need to hear. Watch now and keep broadening your horizons. See you there.